She was going to change the world. That wasn't a hope, that was a plan. Nancy Metayer Bowen had already broken down doors that had been slammed shut for generations. First Black woman on the Coral Springs City Commission. First Haitian-American woman to sit in that seat. Then vice mayor. Environmental scientist. The woman they called when hurricanes hit, when the water went bad, when the community needed someone who actually showed up. And just days before she died, she buried her baby brother. Donovan was gone, and Nancy kept going, because that's what she did. She kept showing up. She was supposed to announce she was running for Congress. The next chapter was already written. The speeches were ready. The future was bright. But she never made that announcement, because on the night of March 31st, 2026, inside the home she shared with her husband, something happened that nobody saw coming. Except maybe the person who pulled the trigger. This is Red Rage Crime TV. Subscribe for your daily dose of true crime. Because this story isn't just about a murder. It's about a woman who spent her whole life building bridges and the man who burned the only one that mattered.
Our second honoree tonight is the Vice Mayor of Coral Springs, Madam Vice Mayor Nancy Metayer Bowen. Please give a Cosmos round of welcome to our second honoree tonight. Let's give it up.
Hi, I am Commissioner Nancy Metayer. I carry each of you in my heart every day. Your love, your support, and your encouragement are what brought me to this moment.
Nancy Metayer Bowen grew up right here in Coral Springs, Florida. She wasn't born into power, she earned it. Florida A&M University, Johns Hopkins. She became an environmental scientist who didn't just study problems, she solved them. When Hurricane Irma hit, she was there. Michael, Dorian, she helped lead the response. She fought for clean water when nobody wanted to talk about it. In November 2020, she made history, elected to the Coral Springs City Commission, the first Black woman, the first Haitian-American woman, and she didn't just sit in that seat, she worked it. She wrote, "I ran because representation matters. Our communities deserve leaders who reflect their lived experiences." By December 2024, she was vice mayor, another first, another door kicked open. She served on 10 community boards. She became vice chair of Haitian American voter engagement for the Florida Democratic Party. And through all of it, she never forgot where she came from. She showed up to every event, every meeting, every crisis. But here's the thing about people like Nancy. They carry weight that nobody sees. On December 15th, 2025, her baby brother Donovan died. The family said his struggles traced back to the Parkland shooting. Nancy took to Facebook the next day. She wrote about him. She grieved openly. And then she went back to work, because that's what she did. She kept showing up. And through all of that, there was a man beside her. Stephen Bowen, 40 years old. They had been married for 3 years, and if you only looked at Nancy's social media, you'd think it was a fairy tale. On his birthday in 2023, she called him the love of my life. She wrote, "Your presence in my world makes every day brighter." On their 3rd anniversary in November 2025, just weeks after her brother died, she posted again. 3 years of building, dreaming, and loving each other through everything. But here's the question nobody asked until it was too late. Why was she the only one posting? He didn't acknowledge her. Not on anniversaries, not on birthdays, not when she made history. She was the one putting their love on display. He was silent. Sometimes silence isn't peace. Sometimes silence is a warning sign you don't see until the lights go out. March 31st, 2026. That day, Stephen Bowen called his mother. He told her he needed to talk to Nancy about an issue when he got home. His mother didn't think much of it. Just a husband stressed out. That night, inside their home in a gated community on Northwest 127th Avenue, Stephen Bowen shot his wife. Not once, 3 times. With a shotgun. But here's the detail that should make your blood run cold. Investigators found marks on a pillow. A string. He had made a makeshift silencer. Think about that. He didn't just snap in a moment of rage. He prepared. He muffled the sound so the neighbors wouldn't hear. So the woman who spent her entire career speaking for others would take her last breath in complete silence. After he shot her, he didn't call 911. He didn't run. He wrapped her body in blankets and trash bags. He left her in their bed, and then he went downstairs. And he went to sleep. He slept in that house, with her upstairs, wrapped up like garbage. That isn't a crime of passion. That is something else entirely. The next morning, April 1st, 2026, no joke. Nancy was supposed to be at a charter school board meeting. She was the chair. When she didn't show up, people noticed. A city staffer texted Stephen. They asked if Nancy could call in. And Stephen played his part. He texted back. He said he had texted her, said she wasn't picking up, and said, "Where is she? Her car is not at home." He was already acting like the worried husband. Meanwhile, he knew exactly where she was. She was upstairs, wrapped in trash bags. Police were called for a welfare check around 10:20 in the morning. When they got to the house, no cars in the driveway. No answer at the door. But one detective noticed damage on the second floor. Explosive-like damage. Consistent with force coming from inside. They couldn't go in. Not yet, but they knew something was wrong. While police were outside that house, Stephen Bowen was already on the move. He drove to his uncle's house. He showed up at the door, and he told his uncle the truth. He said he had done something to Nancy, that she wasn't alive. He asked his uncle to hold the weapon for a couple of weeks. Then he told his uncle exactly what he did. 3 shots, the pillow, sleeping downstairs. His uncle asked him why, and Stephen Bowen's answer was 4 words. "I couldn't take it anymore." His uncle didn't protect him. He called 911. That call gave police the legal basis to enter the home without a warrant. Inside that second-floor bedroom, they found Nancy, wrapped in blankets and trash bags. 3 spent shotgun shells were wrapped up with her body. A preliminary exam showed a shotgun wound to her left shoulder.
A lot of new details tonight on the murder of Coral Springs Vice Mayor Nancy Metayer Bowen.
We're learning more about her husband-turned-accused killer as 911 calls shed more light about what happened behind closed doors. Local 10's Terrell Fournay is live in Coral Springs with the latest on the tragedy. Terrell?
Yeah, among that history, a fascination with guns and the operator of a faith-based organization for this man who is accused of killing a beloved vice mayor of the city of Coral Springs. So many people touched by this tragedy, and many of them are arriving here to the City Hall in Coral Springs for a planned candlelight vigil that's set to begin tonight. As the city flag flies at half-staff outside City Hall, mourners are continuing to drop off flowers in honor of Vice Mayor Nancy Metayer Bowen, people including her mentee.
She was always there for everybody. Every day, every time I talk to her, it's always, what are we gonna do to help the people? She always a selfless person.
It was Wednesday when relatives rushed over to Nancy's Coral Springs home after she failed to show up to several scheduled meetings.
911, what is your emergency?
I'm calling to report a possible crime.
The urgency escalated on voices in those 911 calls.
Tell them to break down the door and go down, whatever means.
Ma'am, I understand that we're worried about her and we're trying to find her, but we can't just break down the door. We have to have a reason.
Nancy's lifeless body was found inside of her home, wrapped in a blanket and garbage bags. Detectives believe Nancy's husband used a rifle to shoot his spouse 3 times on the night before she was discovered, and then he slept downstairs afterwards, a crime Bowen allegedly admitted to his own uncle.
Okay. My nephew, her husband, came to my house this morning and told me that he did something to her.
Okay, her
I said,
husband?
Is he alive? He said no.
Bowen has been charged with premeditated murder and tampering with evidence. On social media, he documented a fascination with guns. State records show he has an active license as a radiology tech, and he last worked at Delray Medical Center. Nancy's loss has touched an entire community.
We're doing our best to honor this incredible woman, incredible leader, incredible human being. You know, she was so committed to so many, including our youth.
No one can replace her.
Meanwhile, Stephen had left his uncle's house. He drove to an apartment complex in Plantation about 10 miles away. He met up with a fellow member of his Freemasons lodge. He handed the man a bag and ammo boxes. The man had no idea what was in them. He just thought they were discussing a lodge meeting. Police surrounded that apartment complex. Multiple agencies: Broward Sheriff, Fort Lauderdale PD, Plantation PD. By 2:35 in the afternoon, Stephen Bowen was in custody. He immediately asked for a lawyer and said nothing. The next morning, Stephen Bowen stood before a Broward County judge. The whole hearing lasted 55 seconds. He stood silent. His lawyer did the talking. First-degree premeditated murder. Tampering with physical evidence. He was remanded without bond. Back at Coral Springs City Hall, the people Nancy worked with every day were trying to hold it together. Commissioner Josh Simmons stood at the podium, and he didn't hold back. He said, "Nancy was our colleague. She was my battle buddy. She had such a good heart. Even when people were saying horrible things about her, she still cared. She rolled up her sleeves. She went to every event. For anyone that knows me, I can be a little like an attack dog. And I was very protective of her." His voice broke. He said, "I just saw you this past Saturday. Didn't think that would be the last time I got to talk to you."
Good afternoon, everyone, or evening. Usually I love speaking at press conferences and talking to reporters, but this is not one of those days. Nancy was our colleague, and I'm speaking on behalf of our entire commission. Nancy was our colleague. That was our battle buddy. She had such a good heart. She truly cared about people. Even when people were saying some of the most horrible things about her and us, she still cared, rolled up her sleeves, went to every event that she could go to, because she truly cared about people and making sure people had a relationship with their elected officials. And for anyone that knows me, they know that I can tend to be a little like an attack dog, and I was very protective of her. I would not let people mistreat her or talk to her any kind of way just because she decided to serve the people. And so my heart is extremely heavy. My soul is heavy. My heart is broken. We are just normal people. And to have to go home and deal with things, that's what we do. We come back out every single day and we work for the people. Our commission is incomplete. Our commission is incomplete. And we know that time is going to move and time is going to do its thing. But for us that are in this city, in the city hall, that have been touched or impacted by Vice Mayor Nancy Metayer Bowen, that is something, that is a loss that is going to take a lot of time to deal with. To the media, thank you for being here, but I am going to ask you one simple request. Do not turn this into a circus. Do not barrage our office trying to get answers. You have been given instructions. Please follow them. We are truly grieving right now. our city will come together as we always do. Nancy, I loved you. You're my big sister. I was always happy to see you at all the events we went to together. I just saw you this past Saturday. Didn't think that would be the last time I got to talk to you. So I'll say to everyone here, go home, hug your loved ones, tell them you love them, be close to them. I am praying for her family, who's dealing with yet another unimaginable tragedy. So please keep them in your prayers as well. And with that, I'll bring up our city manager, Catherine Givens.
Then City Manager Catherine Givens spoke. She said, "To say today is a very dark day for us in Coral Springs is an understatement. There are no words that can truly capture the depth of this loss. Vice Mayor Metayer gave us so much of herself. She wasn't just a leader, she was the light in every room she entered."
To say today is a very dark day for us in Coral Springs is an understatement. There are no words that can truly capture the depth of this loss or the pain this organization and community are now dealing with as a result of this senseless tragedy. What's worse is the tremendous grief that her family must endure. And if you knew Nancy, her family was everything. Vice Mayor Metayer gave us so much of herself to our city. She wasn't just a leader, she was the light in every room that she entered. She was a steady voice in difficult times, a compassionate soul who lifted others up, and a friend to so many. Our hearts are truly broken. We know this brings shock and sorrow, and we are taking the necessary steps as city employees to be with those that are affected. We have our behavioral health access program for our employees, for our healing, as we do this together. We ask the community to grieve with us. We are one family, one organization, one community, and we come together at these times. Please hold each other close as we mourn. And in closing, I want to say that we're going to keep her light even in the darkest of days like today. We're here for one another. We're here for our community. Thank you.
But here's the tragedy. Nancy had just spoken at an event a few days earlier. She said, "I firmly believe that our collective strength lies in our ability to show up for one another, even and especially when it's difficult." She showed up for everyone, but when she needed someone to show up for her, the person in the room with her was the one holding the shotgun. So let's ask the hard question. Why did Stephen Bowen do it? He told his uncle he couldn't take it anymore. Take what? People close to Nancy say he was jealous. She was the one in the spotlight. She was the one making history. She was the one meeting governors and congressmen, and he was just the husband, the man standing in the shadow of a woman who was too bright for him to handle. He was afraid she would leave him, afraid he'd end up alone, so he made sure that if he couldn't have her, nobody could. But here's the thing that should haunt you. He didn't just kill her. He erased her. He wrapped her in trash bags. He tried to hide her like she was nothing. A woman who spent her whole life proving she was everything. And in the end, the man who promised to love her tried to turn her into a secret. Nancy Metayer Bowen was 38 years old. She had already buried her brother. She was about to announce a run for Congress. She had broken barriers that nobody thought would break. And she died at home, in her own bed, killed by the man she called the love of her life. Her family said, She was a source of strength, wisdom, and love, someone who always put others before herself. But here's what we need to remember. Putting others first doesn't mean ignoring the warning signs. If you see a friend posting all the love while the other person stays silent, ask the question. If you hear someone say, "I can't take it anymore," take it seriously. This is Red Rage Crime TV. We tell these stories because they matter, because Nancy didn't die for nothing. Her light is still there, we just have to carry it now. Leave a comment. Do you think he planned this murder? Or did something push him over the edge that night? We want to hear what you think. Subscribe to Red Rage Crime TV on YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram for your daily dose of true crime. We'll see you in the next one. Until then, lock your doors and watch the ones closest to you.